is a listener-supported community show. It's a show that is created in and around our Patreon community, who do an incredible job of supporting the three of us and allowing us to continue to make content for you almost every single day as we roll through September and hopefully still to the playoffs for our woe-begotten but now maybe back on track Padres. And how can you support us? Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. That's where over 600 people this month have decided to, drop us a little bit, whether it be $5 or more. And in return, you get ad-free shows. You get all of the extra shows we do, all of our post-game shows, all of our group therapy shows. They're always recorded live on our Discord. Another huge thing that's going on. I was told, guys, to throw into the ad this week the PHT Music League. Because in addition to a 7-tier fantasy baseball promotion relegation league, in addition to a fantasy football league, fantasy basketball, fantasy Survivor, the show,
Survivor,
not NFL, Survivor, Big Brother. We've got a Big Brother fantasy league. We've also got a PHT Music League. I believe 20 people signed up for the latest run where they're just trading songs, riffing off themes, learning a lot more stuff. Incredibly fun. There's just so many interactive opportunities. It's absolutely worth your money, in our opinion, if you like the show, to get a little bit more involved. Check it out for yourself. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody. We're back together again. And all it took was everything. Greg Elston, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor. I'm down in San Diego, and I feel great. I think I had 3 cups of tea. Just got off of a Wave PA gig. Like, I'm feeling fine and firm. Meanwhile, Chris Reed, how you doing?
There be plague in the blankets in Los Angeles.
Poor Chris is COVIDed out. He's got COVID. And then over here we got Raphie, who's also ill, but apparently not COVID. So you can even be sick and not have COVID.
You can, apparently. You can just have a good old-fashioned cold, which I always imagine as like Osmosis Jones running through me. And so we're just sipping Spindrift and tea and honey. And we're going to... what's not making me sick? The Padres these last 2 days.
How about the week before? I would like to suggest that maybe both of you got sick.
Yeah, okay.
As a result of the Padres' horrible play, and now you are suffering through it. Well, meanwhile, healthy, happy me has poured myself a little whiskey drink at the end of a long work day, which goes into our fun pod day. As we record this on Sunday, September 7th, 2025, and the Padres beat the Rockies today 8-1 after holding off the Rockies yesterday 10-8 after like almost on the conversion table of being at Coors Field getting perfect game by Kyle Freeland. I know it was a 3-hit shutout, but basically when you factor in Coors, that's like being perfect gamed, which was the end of a 5-game losing streak. Guys, we're going to go through it all on tonight's show, from the storylines that cropped up over the course of this week to potentially a momentous lineup decision that was made today. If it stays, it changes the season one way and another. It's going to change the season. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the funniest thing happening on Saturday night as LA managed to turn a franchise milestone into a whoopsie. And now the Padres, guys, the Padres, like a senior in high school that is already quiet quitting because they've sent out their college applications. Like, they just cruised through a week, did no homework, turned in no assignments until the very end. And because they've got I guess, a teacher that's their best friend, they still gained a grade over the course of the week. Their grade improved. They're a game
because
back.
they had done a whole bunch of studying, earlier in the year, and in the first semester they turned in some decent grades, and they came back from winter vacation just focused and sturdy, and I don't want to say they've earned the I can't even say it, the laissez-faire, the
Laissez-faire?
yeah, Raphie, you just went to France. Help me out here.
Laissez-faire. There you go.
The laissez-faire.
Laissez-faire.
No, that's
laissez-faire
different.
attitude.
That's right
different.
next to the Ren Fair. That's
Yeah.
But go ahead.
I believe Lilith Fair. That's what it was.
Beautiful.
But yeah, so like I don't want to say they've earned this attitude, because had they played just a little bit better against a surging Orioles team and a not surging at all Twins team, we're feeling pretty damn good about their chances of winning the division. Instead, we've got some exciting baseball in front of us, but no guarantees.
Yeah. There are probably 3 or 4 different points you could point to in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, where I thought we'd be looking back at the end of the season and say, that's the moment we lost the division. But it turns out the Dodgers had 4 or 5 points in the last 2 weeks where they could say
Yeah.
the same thing. So it kind of cancels each other out. It's kind of crazy. So I don't know. I we'll get into this weekend. I think Friday was the lowest point of the season. That's just for me. I mean, maybe you guys feel differently. And to think that the Padres actually gained ground just shows you how desperate things have gotten up in LA. So, bully for us.
Yeah, I said this to you, Raphie, on our Saturday night post-game show for our patrons. And, just kind of echoing and affirming what you just said. One of these teams is going to say after the year that the first week of September is where it all fell apart. One of these two teams is gonna say that. Because realistically, the Dodgers, just by playing 500 baseball, would be 4 or 5 games up on San Diego right now. And conversely, if the Padres had played around 500 baseball, they'd be 2 or 3 games up in the National League West, and things would be much more sharply defined. Instead, both teams muddled around, did nothing, and somehow let kind of both Arizona and San Francisco think that they're going to get a dying gasp at this, and get to make a last 2 weeks run. That's what happened over the course of these 2 weeks. Meanwhile, the Cubs, the Phillies, the Brewers have all established for themselves comfortable distance between themselves and San Diego or LA, for that matter.
I mean, it's the same distance between us and the Giants, or even less distance. So I still kind of think anything can happen. And I know the Diamondbacks are playing good. Have you guys seen who their latest up-and-coming starting pitcher is?
Mm-hmm.
One Nabil Crismatt.
Oh.
Nabil Crismatt turned in a quality start the other night for Arizona and has been sharp in like 3 straight appearances. So
yeah,
it's September, boys. It's bonkers ball.
Yeah, I mean, not to leapfrog the menu a little bit, but I think what you just said, Craig, underscores how important it is to win the division for the Padres this year, because that's the only way that you're going to guarantee that you're playing at home in the wild card series. It's looking increasingly unlikely that they catch the Chicago Cubs. And if they do not win the division and things hold in the place they're at and they get the 5 seed, they will be going to Chicago to play at a cold and windy Wrigley Field in October, in a ballpark they haven't played in since April. So, at a time where I'm sure the ivy hadn't even grown in yet,
right?
It just
it
it's
wasn't.
A very different.
Yeah, it was withered.
Yeah,
Brick
it's just
wall, baby.
It's a very, very specific place, and that's honestly maybe even more than LA, the place I'm scared to play the most in the wild card rounds. So it is absolutely imperative that the Padres are able to win the division, even if they do not get to secure a bye through it, because then they'll get to play at home, which has been so critical for their success this year.
Well, to get there, a couple things need to turn around because San Diego's form has been close to abysmal for 2 straight weeks. And that's been about the length of time since we've had a true full show because both you guys had vacation heading into Labor Day and trips. And then this week, as a result, we've had the full week since. The primary issue for the San Diego Padres right now, the number one thing confronting AJ Preller directly is their starting rotation. The club just now, right, got 3 decent performances out of their starters in Colorado against the worst team in baseball. They got a quality start from Randy Vasquez, 6 innings, 3 runs. They got 5 innings from Dylan Cease, and they got 5 innings from Nick Pivetta. And that truly qualifies as the 3 best starts the Padres have had in the last 2.5 weeks. Nestor Cortez has pitched himself out of a job. He got put on the Phantom IL. I don't think we'll see him again until and unless things get way, way worse. JP Sears was here. He's gone. Vasquez is back. I think that's an improvement. I think mistakes were made taking Randy out of the rotation at all in hindsight. And hindsight is wonderful to have. AJ doesn't get that opportunity, but he tried to upgrade the rotation and he downgraded it with Sears and Cortez. Both guys were worse than Vasquez. And of course, both guys were way worse than Ryan Bergert. Put a pin on that for a little bit later. But then you get to Yu Darvish, who has really, really been erratic. And even when he's good, it's been a little bit shady because he's just making things up on the fly. And it's clear with the reduced arm angle, the balls move in different directions. There's not the command that you expect. And that's why I believe, in my opinion, that's why has been bedeviled by so many home run balls, is because he's like, oh, I've got it. I've got the movement. Oops, that one didn't move the way I wanted. Bang. And it's out of here. And guys, right now, September 7th, we're hoping that in the next 3 days, Michael King takes a turn for the San Diego Padres. I dare say his health and effectiveness is right, if not at the top of the list, very close to the top of the list of things that will help determine if this team goes anywhere this year or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the thing that we were saying back in June and July was, Craig, you were banging that drum of like, if King doesn't come back, we said if King or Darvish doesn't come back. Now we've got Darvish back, and we can't really make a determination about you, Darvish. And so now it just becomes, well, is King going to come back? Unsurprisingly, something we've gotten so used to with the Padres. I remember a time when I heard that Michael King would be returning during the Twin series. And then it was, oh, maybe the Baltimore series. Oh, well, maybe Colorado. Oh, look at those goalposts. They're just moving right down the field. I genuinely don't know. Like, do you guys think Michael King pitches for the Padres this season before the playoffs?
I think he pitches this week.
Me too.
Like, yeah. I feel like this is it. Like, there's only just so much more you can do before, because this is was it his knee or his hamstring?
It was his knee,
right?
Yeah, it was just an inflamed knee, and they said in his words, he got through it, it settled down, and now he feels great.
Yeah,
in his words.
And the dude has just been not pitching for so friggin' long that it's really just kind of shit or get off the pot. And if he can't pitch in the major leagues, then you're going to have to shut him down. I don't think it's something they can keep dragging out. I don't see the utility in it if he's feeling okay.
Well, I think if I'm if I'm Michael King personally, I'm saying get me back on the fucking mound. I need to get a contract next year.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
what
I
everybody
think,
is incentivized.
and everyone is incentivized. If anything, I think maybe Michael has more to lose than anyone else. I mean, the Padres, like, realistically, are the Padres going to re-sign Michael King? I'd sure love it if they did, but like
the odds of doing so go up if he doesn't pitch another pitch this season. Like that's kind of like the.
Technically, he has an option that he could exercise to return to the San Diego Padres next year. He has a contract from the Padres for next year. We all said the day that he agreed to his deal that would never be signed unless he got hurt. And he's been hurt all season long since being great in the first, month and a half of the season. So here we are.
He's the best pitcher on the staff. So just by what playoff baseball is, his return is chief among their priorities.
And when you think about a potential playoff rotation, piggybacking off of Raphie's point that'll be reasserted later, how important the division is. Nick Pavetta's kind of a specific pitcher, guys. Like, at Petco Park, he's somebody I'm very comfortable starting a playoff game, even a game one. I think for San Diego.
I think the only place he scares me is Wrigley with the wind doing weird things.
Yeah. Like if the wind's doing what it does more often than not, which is blow in, then Pavetta's good. Pavetta's good. If it's blowing out, he's a nightmare.
It's the fall, man. they swirl.
They do. And the one time he was there, it was cold. I remember that. It was the first weekend of April, and he really struggled in that game. But it was the first weekend of April. So, we'll see how that all plays out. But, I mean, Raphie, it's just the difference between a King, Pavetta, Darvish 1, 2, 3 for the Padres going into a 3-game playoff series, or a Pavetta, Darvish, Cease that can't inspire too much confidence, I don't think.
No, and I mean, because, again, like, those 3 guys that you just labeled, Pavetta, you're literally, the fate is in the hands of the gods of whether or not you're going to get the pitcher you want or the pitcher you don't. So that's number one. Number 2, we've talked about Darvish. We've talked about his erraticism. We've talked about him not necessarily having full command of his pitches, stuff, cement mixing over the plate, getting put in the seats. There's that. And then there's Dylan Cease, which, Craig, you have well documented your feelings about Dylan Cease. And, I have to say today, 5 innings, 1 run, maybe the most frustrated I've ever been with that stat line, because he was 67 pitches through 4 innings today and somehow managed to not pitch more than he technically did pitch in the 6th inning, but he did not record an out. So 5+ innings pitched. And he completely abandoned his curveball today, which was something I was really disappointed to see. He only threw it 5 times out of 102 pitches. And he's throwing his fastball slider. He's throwing a sweeper. He's throwing a sinker. The sweeper and sinkers, I mean, they're weak contact pitches. They're not necessarily swing and miss pitches, but the curveball's a swing and miss pitch when he throws it, when he has the confidence to do so. And unfortunately, doing it only 5 times, he really became that 2-pitch pitcher again. And if not, stuff's getting put into the field and it's cores, and you don't know what's going to happen when the ball comes off the bat. And so I know that, like, he could have been changing his approach because of the elevation, and maybe that curveball is not going to break the same way, yada yada yada. We'll see when he comes back to Petco Park and pitches against these very same Rockies on Thursday or Friday or whatever it is. If his pitch arsenal changes at all, that's something that I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to. But he needs to be throwing the curveball to be successful in the playoffs. So if it's September 7th and you're not throwing it and you're just going back to your 2-pitch mix, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So I express the same worry as you have, Craig.
All right. I'm gonna go from a worry to a solution. But I'm gonna start by breaking down a myth. Dylan Cease cannot be a playoff starter for the San Diego Padres. He can't. If he's a traditional playoff starter, the Padres are a massive, massive underdog in that game. His likelihood of getting outside of 3 innings, I would say, is 1 in 4, maybe somewhere between 1 in 3 and 1 in 4. And I think those are also the 2 numbers that would be his maximum innings pitched in a game, 3 or 4 innings pitched if he started the game. However, if you started Adrian Morejon, let him pitch 2 innings, brought in Dylan Cease, and had Dylan Cease go 1 time through the order, or maybe 12 batters. If Morejon went a perfect 6 up, 6 down, you start Cease with the number 7 hitter and give him a chance maybe to get 12 outs in a game, and now you can turn it over to the remainder of your bullpen. And probably just even between Miller and Suarez in a playoff game, get the job done from the 7th to the 9th innings. That's a way that you could utilize Dylan Cease. You could use an opener for Dylan Cease. If you didn't want to waste Morejon / use Morejon, I don't think it's ever a waste in a playoff game to get a 0 in the first inning. But, they used Wandy in a similar situation previously. My point is, Cease as a traditional starter, why? 10 times in his 24 starts, he's pitched an out in the 6th inning this year. And that's in the regular season. That's with favorable matchups left and right. And that's the best he's been able to do. Get into a playoff situation where everyone can lock in on him and his career playoff ERA is in double digits. And I think as a traditional starter, there's no chance for Dylan Cease. But if you use an opener, a reverse hand opener, maybe, and then you take this is going to be a theme for me probably in the show, take the ego out of it, take the trophy case out of it, take he's our number 1 and he's got 5 straight years of 200 punchies because that's pretty good. Take all that shit out of it and just go with who's performing, what could work, how could this team succeed. I think that's how Dylan Cease can help this team in the playoffs.
I really like the idea of using an opener with Dylan Cease. Unfortunately, it won't be Adrian Morejon because he's the only one of the high leverage arms who's a left-handed pitcher. And when you're facing
that's fair,
Ohtani, Freeman, or you're facing Kyle Tucker, Michael Busch, like you're gonna want Morejon to be trotting out in the 7th inning. And so and you can make an argument that this is a way in which the super pen has a deficiency. They have one lefty. They have one lefty that they really trust in the super pen. So unless you're opening with Yuki Matsui or Wandy Peralta, which I don't think the team's going to do in a playoff situation, you're not going to have that opposite-handed matchup, unfortunately, that you were getting, with David Morgan opening for, was it JP Sears or Nestor Cortez or Kyle Hart?
Yeah,
it was for Kyle Hart, but yeah,
it's not. It
would be great if we could just. I think I said this like 4 months ago, but it'd be great if we never say Kyle Hart's name again. A traditional starter you could use in the playoff is the team's most consistent starting pitcher, and that's Randy Vasquez.
He'd be 4th on my list right now. Honestly, my personal list would be King, Pivetta, Randy Darvish,
fucking
Vasquez. I would start Vasquez in a game 4 of an NLCS over Dylan Cease. Am I the Dylan Cease hater of the world? I'm just trying to see the field for what it is. I think too many decisions have been made in the San Diego Padres based on aura, mystique, history, back of the baseball card, stuff that should bear no relation to forward-thinking strategic analysis and decision-making. And this is one of those areas. Dylan Cease, he's an ace. No, he's not. His 2nd time through the order, he's hot garbage. Literally up whatever we were today. What was it, 5-1 or even to 8-1? I thought to myself, well, here's the thing. In the 4th and 5th, Cease could immediately give up a 3-run homer. And all of a sudden the game changes and we're kind of back to what happened on Saturday night. You can't rely on him, but 1 time through the order, That's one place, Raphie, that the numbers do indicate that this year Dylan Cease has had success. One time through the order, he's had success. At home, he's better than the road, but one time through he has success. The second time through the order is where he starts to get annihilated game by game.
Well, and that's assuming that he's a 2-pitch pitcher. If he really is committed to throwing a curveball, and this is something that Letters to AJ has covered extensively, of like how that first time through the order, July and August, when he's had success, he's just fastball slider. And then second time through the order, he'll start throwing the curveball, which is pretty sick to be like, hey, second time through the order, here's a pitch you haven't seen at all. And you basically have a new pitcher all over again. That's why I was so frustrated and disappointed to see him abandon it today. And, again, we'll see if that comes back at sea level. But, yeah, I mean, that's between Dylan and Ruben Niebla and God.
Is that who God is in this scenario?
And maybe.
Hallowed be thy name, amigo.
But that's how you want to get into heaven, cuz? Sorry. But that's the only way this works. If they're because Craig, you're right. They're going to do the traditional back of the baseball card thing. Dylan Cease is going to be, my guess, the game 2 starter for the Padres.
Nightmare.
Last year, Dylan
forget
Cease
about our
had
season.
A sub
like
2
nightmare.
ERA second time through the order, and that was sub 5 third time. This year, third time through the order, his ERA is over 8. Like there's something within Dylan Cease that has not been fixed in 2025, which will necessitate them being creative with how they use him in the playoffs.
Right. If Dylan Cease, and I promise we'll move on to another topic, but I just want to put the numbers out there. I'm not. I guarantee you someone goes, oh, well, Craig is so emotional, raving against Dylan Cease. I'm telling you the cold, hard facts of the situation. What you get that's emotional is from the club when they talk about things that aren't what's actually happening. When they talk about what he could be or what he's been in the past. I'm talking about what he's been this year. We're deep enough into the year, okay? If he's going to have a renaissance in October where everything changes, wow, that's Cinderella shit. But the reality is this. The first time through the order, the OPS against Dylan Cease is 586. The batting average is 205. The on-base percentage is 267. I can work with that in the playoffs every time. That's terrific. That's good enough to win in the playoffs. Second time through the order, the on-base percentage goes to 360 and the OPS to 814. The third time through the order, his OPS is 860 because he's giving up a 519 slugging percentage. He's given up 20 homers this year. 8 have come the second time through the order. 8 have come the third time through the order. Only 4 have come that first time through the order. So what I know about Dylan Cease is that I can get, and we could do it the 25 to 50 pitches, 589 OPS through 25 pitches, 614 through 50, then it goes to 850 and 906. So I know I've got 25 to 50 pitches, playoff pitches, that I can get out of Dylan Cease and not one more. Why would I use that to start the game when those 50 pitches, knowing Dylan, could be the first 2 innings? And now I bring him out for the third inning, and I'm rolling out a pitcher with basically an 860 OPS against and saying, okay, I'm going to try and win a playoff game with this. No. And listen, in a playoff game, in a big game, in a game 3, I would absolutely start Adrian Morejon and just use him at the top, especially if it was a Dodgers, a team that has left-handed hitters, because those 2 innings are critical. And then I can get 3.
Not as critical as any inning after the 5th
from Dylan Cease.
Because the first inning, you don't know what's going to happen. Way more so, like your number of outcomes that can happen after the 5th or 6th are so much more limited, and you're armed with so much more information. I'm with Raphie. Like, I don't think they would do it, and I'd feel sketch about it. Like I want our left-handed Latin king for when the game is on the line, and the game's never on the line in the first inning unless Mike Clevenger is starting in a playoff game.
Thank you. We've lost playoff games the last two times
Very
through,
different
literally
scenarios.
in the first inning.
And you just said Dylan Cease is great
Is
first
it though?
time.
I trust Cease and Clevenger easy. But I'm just saying if trust value,
like I
Clevenger
get it,
or
but
Cease.
like the thing that you guys told me why we can't trade Dylan Cease when I said we should trade Dylan Cease like literally every week for the first 3 months of the season is because we would need his innings. And you know what? He's given that to us. Like by and large, dude has 150 innings this year. As crappy as he's been, the vast majority of it, the Padres have some wins thanks to Dylan Cease that they didn't have. Do they have to get creative about him in the playoffs? I think so. I think you're totally right about that. But I don't know if they have to get crazy.
Okay, I don't think it's crazy, but I had 3 cups of tea.
Got into that whiskey.
Both of you guys have had cold meds, and now I've got a little whiskey. So I'm a dog with a bone on this. I think there are some very basic things the Padres can do to improve their fortunes, and I feel obligated to point them out. And then if they don't do them, they don't do them. It doesn't mean I'm smarter and they're dumber or whatever. They've got their reasons for what they do. But this is one that you can see coming like the iceberg. Okay? It's out there and it's coming. And when we run into it, if we just throw him out there and run into the iceberg and we're down 5 spit in the 3rd inning, I am not going to give Mike Shildt a pass for that, nor AJ Preller. They could have picked a different path. And this is the path, and I'm offering you the path. This is the path you can take. Okay. I need some clarification, Rafe. You wrote this in the chat, in the
no,
menu. It says
I
Shildt
wrote that. That's not Rafe. Like I said, I just put my notes in there.
Oh, you wrote
so
that.
I didn't have to shift screens. So
okay, tell me about
Shildt
this, Chris.
it might have been after last night's game. It might have been today. He said, one thing I will take credit for is that we set a Major League Baseball record for pitches in a game. And I believe the number was 211. It was in the Mick Abel game versus Minnesota. And the Padres, they did. They made a pitcher throw the most amount of pitches. And what we saw Friday night at the lowest point of the season, I completely agree with you, Raphie. If we had gone on and talked about it, you wouldn't have heard me be like, this is hyperbole. We're getting too in our feelings over a thing. That was the low point of the season. It better have been. Like, that better have been the cold, hard bottom of the crevasse, because they went out against Kyle Freeland and let him do whatever he wanted. They let him establish the corners. They weren't aggressive early on in the count. They tried to do what they did against Mick Abel and the Twins, and what they did to the next 2 Rocky starters, it should be noted, who were very wild and not effective in the zone. But they didn't have any sort of aggression. They had a very conservative approach against Freeland, and it wound up having him, it ended, the result was Freeland went 8 innings and gave up 2 hits because the Padres had no answer for his control on the corners. And when he would start off with an 0-0 sweeper down the heart of the plate, the players were in take mode. You know, they weren't being aggressive for the very few meatballs that they got. And that led them to be completely vulnerable to a knuckle curve that was tunneling really well with his very mediocre fastball. And that ended up with them looking as bad as they did, and us feeling as bad as we felt Friday night.
Rafe, you probably know the place to look this up before me, but I would just call bullshit on this from Mike Shildt and immediately point to where do the Padres rank for the season in terms of the number of pitches they see per inning and the amount that they make other pitchers work. Because
give me a second.
And within that, I'll posit my actual theory, which is building off what you just said, Chris. The Padres love to face big stuff or small stuff, low command pitchers. That's where this Padres team feasts, is on pitchers who don't have precise command. But looking to Freeland, looking to Chris Sanchez, looking to Joe
Well, fuck it,
Ryan,
Miles
and obviously these are good
Michaelis.
pitchers.
Miles
and command
Michaelis
is
made
part of
them
being a
look
great
like
pitcher.
dogs.
Yes, thank you. Absolutely. And Freeland is in the Miles Michaelis camp of bad pitchers in baseball. If you're precise, this Padres team will play your game at the plate. They'll swing at your pitch. They'll put the 0-1 pitch in play. They'll put the 0-0 pitch in play because they've been told, don't get down in the count. You always hear Mark Grant against us. Hey, you might see us go get froggy and swing early because don't want to get behind in the count against a guy like this. Well, they're not afraid to get behind in the count against a wild guy because they know the chase pitch is going to be off the plate. But against the command guys, the Padres fall apart.
Yeah. I just want to point out the Padres on the season are averaging 3.84 pitches per plate appearance. Yeah. That is ninth. It's ninth lowest in the league. League average is 3.87. And up at the top, you have like the Yankees, the Braves, the Angels, the Dodgers, the Tigers. Those are in the 3.94, 3.93 range. The Padres also have by far and away the fewest strikeouts looking. They have 199 strikeouts looking on the season, and they have the third lowest strikeouts swinging. In the league, so they're not striking out a lot at all this year, which, like, on its face, that's great. That's really good. But I also think that is directly tied to their lack of slug. I think it is a conscious decision by the team to take a contact first approach, which we talked about since last year. But a lot of these teams that have high strikeout rates, they also have high slugging percentages because they are swinging for the fences. And maybe this can transition a little bit to today. But I thought this was a fun stat that I was looking at in the box score when I was prepping for the show tonight, which is that today, the day that the Padres won 8-1 in Colorado, the team hit 1 for 11 with runners in scoring position. And if I had told you that prior to the game, that we were going to you'd be like, great, we lost another game at Coors and the team is in free fall and yada, yada, yada. But no, the Padres hit 4 home runs today. And I know I'm a fucking broken record about this, but like, this is why it matters. This is why it matters, because the Padres have abandoned slug in favor of contact, but contact also puts you at the clutches of randomness. And this is what we were just talking about with Nick Pivetta in the wind. It's just like, you want to take randomness out of the game and you want to control the things that you can, because baseball's already random enough and it's stupid and no one should watch. And that's why you should buy that mug, PadresHotTub.com/merch.
Yes.
But anyway, there's a long rant to say, absolutely, Craig, you're right. Bullshit. That they're not taking a lot of pitches. It's just not part of their game at all.
Bottom third. They're bottom third in the league
in taking pitches.
They're bottom third in the league in working the count.
A lot of those were swung at. Yeah, just for the
right. Seeing
the pedantic,
sure,
semantical.
Right. That all fits. And when you mix in lack of power and you mix in your number one player, your lodestone, or what's the thing, North Star, I guess, Manny Machado, having one of the worst months of his career. This is why it added up to an August that's been, since the Dodgers series,
I just want to jump on that
forgettable.
real quick, because you mentioned, like, the last 2 weeks have been really bad Padres baseball, and there's been lots of fingers pointed all over the place. Luis Ariz has heard from us all season long, and today Manny Machado hit a ball 450 feet, and he looked to have his timing back. He looked very good.
He did.
But in the previous 28 games before today, Manny's line had been 183, 246, 266. That's good for a 512 OPS. Now, those numbers sound bad, but for Manny Machado, future Hall of Famer, they rank among the top 3 worst months of his entire career. You have to look at his rookie year to find a similar campaign with a lower OPS. And then you get into the beginning of last year when he was coming back from injury, but that doesn't really count because he had several months to get back on his feet. But you had 2017, he had one really bad month with the Orioles where his OPS was below 500, and then his rookie year where the previous two low water points, like low water ebbs, the ebbs.
Yeah, low water
As far
mark,
as
yeah.
batting average goes, with that 183 mark, again, you had to look at his rookie year, and then you had 2016 where he had a similar stretch. But that carried over into next year. That was the last 2 weeks of the season on a Baltimore team that wasn't going anywhere, and then carrying over to a slow start next year. And then the only other year it happened, and this is kind of what I wanted to get to, not knowing what was going to happen today. The only other time his batting average that low was in 2019, his first season with the Padres, when Fernando Tatis had gotten hurt and what had started as kind of like this promising, energized campaign kind of fell apart at the end. And Manning kind of did too. He still slugged, but his batting average was below 180. However, in the last 7 games of that season, Manny Machado hit 364, got on base at a 440 clip, and slugged almost 700 for an OPS of 1.1. And if Manny Machado does that the last 7 games of this season, it's going to do a lot for a team that's way more talented, that he is, a key gear in the machine, but he's not the entire machine. So I wanted to say this to, as kind of like we are indeed seeing historically bad Manny Machado, yes, but don't bet against the man. And of course, today he comes out, does what he does, and kind of ignites the powder keg that was an 8-run game.
Absolutely. And the Padres need Manny Machado, and let's hope that it is the start of something. I thought more important than the home run, because he hit a home run earlier in the week while he was completely terrible. Earlier, even in the Rockies series, you could see that Manny was not recognizing pitches, that there were certain pitches that he could just not see the spin. And today he took a full count walk with the bases loaded in a 2-out situation. He later drilled a double down the right field line. And those are the kind of things Manny Machado does when he can see the ball and when he is getting his timing and he is on time. So hopefully that's happening.
I want to say one more
Here's
thing.
the other good
I
thing
didn't
that's
get in the
happening.
menu. Luis Ariz got benched yesterday. He didn't start the game. And he came in, Friday. And he came into the game in a very high leverage at bat in the bottom of the 9th, leading it off. And what did he do, boys? He drew a friggin' walk. And then the very next game, hitting second, he drew another walk. Like, I don't know. Like, if we were talking about Schilt firing his bullets and benching Ariz on a healthy day at the best hitters ballpark in America. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that was a message received, but it seems pretty coincidental to the point of not coincidental that he drew 2 walks in his first 2 plate appearances back.
Maybe we'll see. There's no choice, and something more was revealed to this extent today. There's no choice for any Padre fan and any member of our Padres Hot Tub Discord and everyone who wants to talk about it. You have no choice other than just to support Luis Ariz the rest of the season, because he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere at all. He'll be batting second for your Padres every game the rest of the year. But Raphie, I think the really big news to me over the last week or so offensively, or recently, Fernando Tatis Jr. is starting to lift the ball again. And he got to that 20 home run mark. And I'm starting to feel a lot better about the way he's addressing the baseball in terms of his chance to impact a playoff game with power.
Sorry, I was muted. I've been blowing my nose. He had a He had a massive home run yesterday. He then hit a 419-foot flyout to the deepest part of the park at Coors Field yesterday, which was a Statcast home run in 29 and 30 ballparks. You can guess which one it wasn't. Yeah,
a reverse unicorn. Yeah,
a reverse unicorn, exactly. I think that like this is just one of those things where the eye test sort of matches what we're seeing on paper as well. That like he's hitting the ball harder, he's staying on balls, he's pulling balls, which is great. I think that like normally it's very cool and sexy when people spray balls the opposite field, but when you have power hitters, you want them to pull the ball in the air. That is what's going to provide the highest slugging percentage. So for Fernando, that is absolutely the key to his success. And so seeing him getting some of that timing back in Colorado is fantastic. And I'll be very curious to see, we already saw him hit a home run at home on Wednesday, if it's going to continue this week back at sea level.
Critical stuff for the Padres. But the bottom line, as Raphie has said, literally since March, is that San Diego has a homers problem. And that becomes more magnified if you do get to the playoffs. You need to hit homers to win playoff games. You just have to. And as such, we spent a couple of weeks or month or I don't know how long, but really looking at the weak point, being logical, looking at the weak point of the lineup and saying, Luis Arraez, you're a guy that could come out of the lineup so that the Padres could play both Laureano and O'Hearn and Sheets and Merrill in the same lineup. Otherwise, you always had to sit one. And I thought it was interesting that Friday, on his weekly interview with Ben and Woods, Mike Schilt was asked this, but in a different manner. Okay, he was asked it, and Stephen Woods he did like triple backflips to try and avoid actually, suggesting something to Mike Schilt. He's like, I'm not saying you should do this or what, but he just said like, what about Jackson Merrill as a shortstop? Like, what if? How hard? I think his literal question was like, how hard would it be? Or like, what would you have to do to get? And Mike, in his style, and I'm used to his style, and he doesn't like those guys that much. He's extra salty on those Friday morning interviews. But he went through a condescending, let me ask you some questions thing. Like, hey, guy, let me ask you a question. You think defense is important? Huh? I'm not trying to argue with you. Just want to share my opinion, share my point of view. You think defense is important? Yeah. Okay. You do, huh? You do. So you think defense can win games? Yeah, they can win. Well, we think so too. And so we make decisions to help this team win games. And defense is a way that help win this game. Okay, cool. And now you're going to take Jackson Merrill, a kid who's so, and now you're going to throw him in short. Okay, well, fine. We're not. But point is, he really wanted to let you know how much he believes the defense wins games. And I agree. And we've talked about it. Because what he did today is something that had been suggested by our patrons. In fact, I'm trying to remember exactly who it was that suggested it. Our famous Frenchorn player, who's now running a winery, that suggested it, a few group therapies back, which was, why don't you slide Cronenworth to short, put Arraez at second, put O'Hearn at first. Now you keep Merrill. Now you can put Sheets at DH. Now you can have your entire lineup. And we said, well, they won't do that because it'll impact the defense too much. And guess what he did today? He did that. And then Cronenworth made a really nice play at shortstop, simply for him. And then winning 8-1 in the sixth, he did what I love, because, this is the thing. Like in Strat, I would do these kind of lineups, guys, all the time. I'd put somebody out of position. I'd put my worst defender at third, or whatever. And then because you want to have the offense, you want to get the lead, and then you pull the bad defender and you slide everyone to the good defensive spots, and now you're a good defensive team. And so he did. He put Jose Iglesias in at short because Cronenworth isn't as good as Iglesias. And then he put Cronenworth at second because obviously Cronenworth's a better second baseman than Arise, and then he put Arise at first, and he took out O'Hearn. Just where my head explodes. I can't give you a because. I can't give you a because on Schilt Air. Because on Schilt Air,
he's a championship
Luis
player.
Rise is a preferred member. He flies first class on Shilty Air.
Do you think on road trips, Luis Rise spanks Mike Schilt with his batting title, Silver Bats? Like, do you?
Because Mike asks him to.
Because Mike asks him to.
I thought you were going to say, does he let him choose the playlist?
We already know Luis Rise.
Dude.
We already know Luis Rise sleeps with his bats. He gave interviews when he was a Marlin that he sleeps with his bats, and that was part of his charm. I'm just saying they're already in the bed. Like, otherwise, why else would he be taking out O'Hearn? It's literally the only logical explanation I can think of. He was already playing there, Craig. He was already at first base. O'Hearn was there. He was there. He made a nice catch over the railing.
A hierarchy.
Today, he did that. And he's like, you know what?
Whether it be
what?
Bat fetishes or sheer human chemistry or a shared love of Napa Pinot Gris, like for some reason, Luis Rise and Mike Schilt are hermanos. They're simpatico. And like, it doesn't blow me away. I was a little more surprised with I don't mind Jake at shortstop all that much. What I mind is the combination of Jake at shortstop and Luis Rise at second base. Like, it really bothers me what could happen up the middle with those two. And it worked out great today. It's by far the best offensive lineup they can do. So, we ride with it. That's what it is. And if the team wanted to be defensive minded, they would have they would have picked up IKF on waivers and like had him basically take Jose Iglesias' job, but they didn't do that. So, get the runs, score the runs, do what's needed to get the runs. I am sad I don't get to see Jackson Merrill play shortstop. It's just a selfish thing. There's no analysis going into it. Just that the kid, said he wanted to do it. And when that dude is playing enthusiastic baseball, he's a force. And he looked good today. He was playing enthusiastic baseball today. He hit an opposite field home run. That was quite delightful.
It was good. And he lined the ball hard a couple other times. The Padres need Jackson Merrill to be last year's Jackson Merrill if they want to win the division or do anything in the playoffs. If he's the 250 hitting guy that swings and misses as much as he has this year, he's not going to help the Padres very much. But I just want to say, because I have been hammering this topic, just like you have, Rafe, for a while, about lineup construction, that I very quickly came around on this particular theory. I am fine with them starting this, which I will call the offensive stack lineup, the O stack. I am fine with them starting the O stack.
Yeah.
Every
O-stack,
game
RHP.
against a right-handed pitcher. Yeah. O stack RHP. I am willing for them to do this every game to try and get the lead. Because this team with the lead is entirely different than this team trailing. Now, I want to note also that while Jake Cronenworth made a great play today, diving catch that got replayed multiple times, what didn't get replayed multiple times was the little pop fly behind second base that Luis Rise had fall right out of his glove and was in Jesse's name, or in Jesse's word, quite charitably called a single by the Coors Field scorer. That could have been an error in his first game at second base for Luis Rise. So Rise is not going to be a good defender at second, and it will cost them at some point along the way. But that's a gamble in the equation I'm willing to take because
Yeah.
it puts Gavin Sheets in the lineup. And if Gavin Sheets starts the next 3 weeks, guys, he's going to finish with over 20 home runs. He's at 19 after his bomb today. He could get to 25. And him and O'Hearn and Laureano and Tatis hitting homers and Machado gets back online. Merrill gets a little bit back online. Now that's enough power to win a playoff game. If all those guys are in and clicking, that's enough. As much as I love him, Jose Iglesias has not hit to the level this year or even close to it that allows him to be a productive part of the bottom of the order. If you put him in the lineup, and obviously Bogarts we hope to get back before the playoffs, but if you put him in the lineup, you're really decreasing the offense. So this play increases the offense, gets Sheets and O'Hearn into the lineup at the same time, and we might give up a ground ball
Frankly, Craig,
a game along the way.
Also, with basically league average hitter Freddie Fermin at the bottom of the order, that lineup is better than the Padres lineup that went into the playoffs last year as the team everybody thought was the best team going into the playoffs.
Well, maybe that's the last thing I'll just say really quickly. Freddie Fermin has to hit. And this is just a quick echo of something we talked about on past non-main shows, on post-game shows and group therapies. But, Freddie Fermin started off House of Fire, 370 in his first 2 weeks. Then he went, I think it was 3 for 32. And then the last couple of games, he's hit better. And the Padres traded a pretty darn good 6-year starter potentially in Ryan Bergert and Stephen Kolek, a good depth piece in their rotation, to get this guy for 4 years. They got Austin Nola for 4 years, and they only wanted to keep him for 1.5 because he was so bad. And if that happens again with Freddie Fermin, the Padres are in a world of hurt. They need Freddie Fermin to be good and to be a starting catcher in the big leagues. When he hits like he did the last couple of days, he is. When he hit like the way he did the last 3 weeks, he's not. And when you combine it with the problems the Padres have had in the starting rotation, I just don't want to every day relitigate this trade in our Discord for the next 5 years, like Nola got litigated for like 3 years running of every day bringing up the trade. But this could be one of the big losses in terms of AJ Preller, unless Fermin just is what they think he is. And so he's one of these guys, like, I just got to cross my fingers and count on him.
Every player's going to have peaks and valleys, babe. The dude is like a career average 94 OPS plus hitter, like just slightly below average. And I think you take that at catcher. And like my take on the trade is, if Freddie Fermin's name is Adley Rutschman, how do you feel about it? A lot better, but Adley Rutschman, number one, is worse this year, and he's not even playing this year. And number two, like a 20% better hitter. And the defensive metrics favor Fermin a little bit, but that's for catchers, and like that's because Fermin's a frame god. But I just want to point out how rare friggin' major league caliber starting catchers are with a little bit of control. And yes, Ryan Bergert is playing quite well. And you can't even say it's because he's playing at Kauffman, because a lot of his starts have been on the road with the Royals. But we kind of knew he was going to be a playable guy. And we really wish we had a playable guy a few times in the past month. But I understand the trade. And I think that if we knew a little bit more about Freddie Fermin as a fan base, it would feel different. Like, this is a dude who put up 3 WAR last year, playing 111 games with not even 400 plate appearances. He's going to put up over 2 this year. Like, dude is a starting caliber major league catcher. They're not around. And especially if you don't want to pay them in the offseason, like the Padres definitely do not.
Is that
So
3 of the good war,
it's a
Chris,
good
or
one.
3 of the funky war?
We're B-War boys. We're
Okay, that's
B-War
what I thought.
boys.
The based war, or the yeah.
Meanwhile, a statue is currently being erected in El Paso of Luis Campusano.
What does he have? 28 home runs?
Seriously.
Or is it 27 home runs?
He has the most ever in Chihuahua affiliate history. So yeah, I mean, if you want to point to anything as to why the Padres needed to make that trade in the first place, it's because they have completely botched in every single way possible the Luis Campusano experiment. Which, by the way, I hope someone's teaching him to play first base, because that's the way you can use him next year.
Yes.
When Arise and O'Hearn are gone.
Platoon, baby.
Just want to put that out there in the universe.
Hey, Rafe.
Yeah.
Rafe, if Pat Murphy is the manager of the Padres, how many at-bats does Luis Campusano have this year, and how many more wins do the Padres have?
At least a couple, which right now is the division lead. Like, think about all those times they were playing Maldonado over Campusano. Like, all those times. I mean, what did Maldonado end up with a negative win? Like,
it was.
It might have been really close, 0.7 or 8. You know,
I think there's at least a dozen, if not 18 teams where Luis Campusano would have been the everyday starter.
Let me rephrase that. Like, how many
in the big leagues
losses more do the Padres have if Maldonado plays catcher the last month? Like,
I don't know. Fermin went 3 for 32. I want to contradict myself right as I asked that question, because every team in big league baseball had a chance to trade for Luis Campusano at the deadline. He didn't move. So if I really think that 12 teams would have him as their starter, wouldn't one of those 12 teams have traded for him? Chris Reed just said a young, controllable catcher is one of the most important things. We've got one.
He's not a catcher.
And he literally never plays.
He's not
just not a catcher,
but he is a short side DH platoon. That's for
and
sure.
Mike Schilt dislikes him so much he wouldn't even give him those at bats. Like, you got to remember. Like, sure, the guy.
Said,
what did he get? Like,
that's
25
right too,
plate appearances and no hits, truth be told, in whatever he got.
Right.
Yeah. No, he was bad. He was bad in those plate appearances, but like he's been in the organization for almost a decade. You know what I mean? And so you're going to say those 25 plate appearances define the future of Luis Campusano? Like, come on. Yeah. Like, that's insane.
All right, let's move to this. As said, the Dodgers are 1 game ahead. Now, we have to note, while tiebreakers don't turn up till the last day of the year, the Padres have to make 2 positive motions on the game board in order to actually go ahead of LA. Being even with their token on the board doesn't matter. So, as such, and I was texting my dad about this earlier today, but I just think it's really fascinating. Like, over the last 2 weeks, the Padres played their worst ball of the year, while the Dodgers also, in the exact same frame, played their worst ball of the year. And they've been pretty inconsistent a few times. And in that time, both San Francisco and Arizona separately lit off a bottle rocket and took off up the standings, and each put up an 8-2 in a time when the Dodgers and Padres put up a 3-7. And before the Padres won on Saturday, the Giants had gotten to 4 games behind them. 4 games. And the way the Padres were spiraling and the Giants were surging, you were like, okay, by Wednesday, the Giants could catch the Padres in the standings. But they did not. The Padres have won a couple of games. So now we go down the stretch. And I think this is fascinating, guys. And it's so positive for San Diego. With all the bad things that have happened with the Padres' form, with the way that everything we've talked about, all the issues, their setup is close to golden. Because after the next 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's important not to fall apart. Because the Dodgers will get Colorado at home, while the Padres take on a flailing Cincinnati Reds team. But the Reds are playing for their life. Andrew Abbott's going to pitch. He's shut down the Padres every single time he's faced them in his career. The Padres have struggled with Cincinnati in the past. They can't afford to turn this 1-game deficit into like 4, right? They can't afford to turn it into 3 or 4. But after that, the craziest thing happens. The Dodgers play the Giants and the Phillies and the Giants. 10 games in a row. Giants, Phillies, Giants. And when you think about it, the setup almost guarantees the Padres a playoff spot. Why do I say that? Because the Giants are the team that's trying to catch the Padres. Now, Arizona's in the mix too. We can get to them in a second. But the Giants are the team that's going to catch the Padres. How can they do that? They have to stay red hot. How do they stay red hot? They have to beat the Dodgers. If the Giants were red hot, they'd have to beat the Dodgers 5 or 6 times in 7 games. Well, the Padres can't lose ground to the Dodgers if the Dodgers keep losing all the time to the Giants. So really all San Diego has to do is tread water. And they've got 4 games at home against Colorado just to make the playoffs, because the Giants would have to pass both of us. And the only way they can do that is to beat the hell out of LA. And if they beat the hell out of LA, then LA's in position for us to pass them. Never mind San Francisco. The only way this doesn't work is if San Francisco is terrible and Arizona wins every game the rest of the year. And this is a team that traded away their first baseman, their third baseman. They have nobody in relief. You know, they went on a bottle rocket, just like the Giants went on a bottle rocket. But I don't think either team has the staying power. But honestly, I just look at those 7 games, guys, LA, San Francisco, as kind of everything
real quick,
for the division race.
Before I address your fantastic point, speaking of bottle rocket, sad news. Fantastic downtown establishment will no longer be in business after the season. So head on down there and support a really great institution that if I lived in the city, I would have been at a whole bunch more. They did really great work. Really thought it was a fantastic place. And want to give them a shout out because they've been really good to us. And, just a fantastic vibe.
Yeah, Eli's incredible. And now, please go ahead.
The point's
and
excellent, but it goes back to the Padres have to take care of business. Like, even if that business is being, what they've been for a long time this year, which is basically a 500 team. But they're better than that. So if they play to their abilities with the schedule in front of them, like, it's looking really, really good. And like a collapse seems very, very improbable.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the premise of the Padres making the playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. Like, that's like, it's going to happen. Like, we're at 98% playoff odds right now. So, but what I think is more intriguing is, yes, you're rooting for the Giants to take down the Dodgers. With the Phillies, beating the Dodgers also probably guarantees that you're never going to catch them for a bye. And that's probably a trade-off that you're willing to make if it secures you the division, because the bye is a long shot regardless anyway. I'd have to see where the Padres are at in terms of their bye winning percentage. They have a 3.5% chance, according to Fangraphs, to clinch a bye right now.
Saying there's a
so
chance.
I think you punt those 3.5 you punt those 3.5 to try and.
But you don't have to. We can have it all, Raphie. We can have it all.
Well, I mean, here's
they
the
went
thing.
Out, sure.
Yeah, the Phillies are at plus 23 right now. The Padres are with the win today at plus 13. So to square that off, first off, you need Philly to lose some games along the way. But or at least some. But secondly, you've got 4 against Colorado, 3 against the White Sox. If you won all 7 of those games, if you took a 7 out of 7 of those games, you go from 13 over to 20 over. And that's without the other games in the equation yet. But I'm just saying, if you can take all 7 of those games specifically, that's the helium you need to get up into that plus 20 category where you can start to discuss the Cubs and the Phillies. Losing Friday really, really, really sucked. And losing to the Orioles 3 times as opposed to just losing twice or once, just like losing twice to the Twins. Like, those games really sucked in terms of our trajectory. But even with that, what matters is playing well so that you take care of these games. Because if you take care of these games, the path is still, I believe, built for you to be 2 games better than LA down the stretch.
I completely agree, but I've also been surprised by this team before. So
Yeah.
And like we talked about how the last
All right,
American
let's
League
wrap up.
team, the last time we talked, is the White Sox, and we went, "Oh yeah, that's good." White Sox have won a whole buttload of games recently. Like, all of a sudden, the White Sox are
Of course they have.
the Baltimore Orioles all of a sudden.
And the Padres are
Yeah.
18-27 against the American League. So us losing to the
Yeah,
White
let's
Sox
not
would not
count those
surprise
games
me,
yet.
but it would really, really make me mad. Let's wrap up with just a little bit of bullpen talk. I thought this losing streak, again, well, it's something we've talked about a lot on the other shows. We haven't talked in the main feed, but one of the things that came into play as the Padres scuffled was like, if they actually blow this, Eric Krupner will probably fire AJ Preller. It seems like it would very much be an in-play move given the dynamics of the franchise if they had a twice-in-a-generation collapse and miss the playoffs. But one of the reasons that came into focus for me was you see what happens to a super bullpen team when the starting pitchers can never get anybody out and the offense doesn't score. Mason Miller pitches like 2 innings in 2 weeks is what happens. And you traded your quote unquote future superstar shortstop for 2 innings. Yeah, 2 innings over 2 weeks. It's really hard to win with a super bullpen when you're losing all the time. Now, the last couple of days, the Padres got offense, and in the game that mattered, we saw him go to Mason Miller for a 2-inning up and down. We saw him get ready to warm up Robert Suarez in the 8th inning when Miller was on the mound. Like, he's going to ride those big relievers, Schilt will, down the stretch. But guys, as we mentioned right at the top of the show, since our last main show, Jason Adam tore his quad. He's out for the year and will be out till May or June of next year. And obviously that's a giant blow, 5-finger death punch down to 4 horsemen again. And then Jeremiah Estrada has had some real issues that have led him to become, I don't know, a pretty unreliable horseman at this point, a shaky horse.
Yeah. So we were talking a little bit about this, I think, on the show last night, Craig.
Right.
Of his pitch usage has changed so that he's throwing his fastball more than ever. He's sort of abandoning the chitter, as it's called. And so you would think, okay, fastball, that's Jeremiah Estrada's signature pitch, that sort of like rising, heavily induced vertical break fastball that he has. But it hasn't been successful for him. And actually, this month so far, opponents are hitting above a 470 expected WOBA on his fastball, which, it's 27 pitches. It's not a huge sample size, but, when you're breaking things down by month and it's the 7th of the month, it's going to be like that. The point is bad. Point is bad. Point is it hasn't been good. And I was curious if I could try and find anything as to why things have been going so poorly for him. And it turns out one of the things that came up is that this month in September, we're seeing a pretty steady separation between the arm angle on his fastball and on his secondary pitches, and something that was relatively stable for May, June, July when he was having his greatest success, where he only had about 5 degrees of separation in the arm angle. In August, that went up to about 10 degrees, and right now in September so far, again, small sample size, but his arm angle on his fastball is 71 degrees, and on his splitter and slider, it's down at 61 degrees. So he's got a dozen degrees of difference in his arm angle. And I'm wondering, for me personally, if I'm the Dodgers, that's something that I
100%.
assume that they're absolutely
Every major
picking
league
up
team
on,
is.
if they can. And so, I mean, if me, Joe Schmo with a cold here in East Hollywood, is able to see that, I know that certainly other teams are seeing that, and I know Ruben Niebla is on it too. So I'm hoping this is something that that they'll be able to remedy going forward. But yeah, it's just it's a game of adjustments, as we talked about, and sometimes I mean, I hate to bring this up because we bring it up a lot, but it really is like a golf swing. You start making the adjustments, then you overcorrect, then you have to make corrections for your overcorrections, and you just do it over and over and over again. And that's the same thing with baseball. You're just like making adjustments, and every team's trying to find every marginal advantage they can get over you. So I'm sure they're all over it, but something to watch going forward.
Yeah, great analysis. There it is. Cold hard facts. Again, the arm angle has changed. There's a separation in arm angle that leads to being able
That's
to
a tip.
cipher it. And we know it, right? We know every team has the iPads. Heck, today the Yankees won a game. Did you guys see that?
Whoosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they had pre-game spotted that Max Scherzer's changeup grip was visible from either first or second base. And so they could absolutely spot every changeup. And Judge was flapping his arms, giving signals to Ben Rice, and Ben Rice wound up hitting a 3-run homer, and it wound up being the difference in the game. So this stuff is happening all the time. We've seen the Padres get caught on it 3 times this year. And for Jeremiah Estrada especially, that's absolutely something worth keeping an eye on. So, put a pin in that. And let's see what happens.
Just real quick.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Padres have, again, the Reds.
We were really high on the team going into the playoffs last year because the bullpen. It's a lot of the same thing this year. David Morgan has proven that he can take innings if Estrada falls off. And above all, us Padres fans need to remember to keep calm and more home. Because we have a dynamic left-hander who's the best reliever in Major League Baseball this year. And we now have a shirt commemorating the fact. You can find it at padreshottub.com/merch. There it is for our YouTube audience.
When we put out the mug, it seemed like the season
we were
was
doing
about to
great
collapse.
when we put out the mug. And then 19
Jackson Merrill got off to a hot start this year. What happened, Rafe? What are you wearing there, kid? What do you got?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and neither do I.
There's nothing here.
Craig doesn't officially recognize this shirt, and I believe as long as none of you buy it,
it's been bought, and they are 2-1 since the release of the Keep Calm and Motorhome. The official
Motorhome was great today. Double
by the
plays
Road
in both the
Nation,
6th and 7th. Oh my goodness. Well, check it out at your own peril. But
it's apparel. It puts the peril in apparel.
That's great.
Padres Hot Tub, putting the peril in apparel since 2023. On that note, we're done. Oh my gosh. Hopefully a lot of post-game shows this week, which would mean a lot of wins. Come find them and listen to them and be a part of them with us. Go to patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Lastly, if you're watching us on YouTube and you've gotten to the end of this show, thank you so much. Please hit that subscribe button. Give us that thumbs up. Click that like button. Hit the bell so you'll be notified for every single one of our shows. If you're listening to our podcast and you got to the end of it and you can leave a 5-star review, even better, a kind little written review, whether it's in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, wherever. We really appreciate it. Your support, whether it is passive in a way like that or whether it's active as a patron at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, is what fuels this community-funded podcast. For Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor, both get well soon, guys. Get under the pillows. I'm the healthy one.
Just stay out of Los Angeles. You'll be okay.
For Chris and Raphie. Yeah, and I'm not going. No chance. For Chris and Raphie, I'm Craig. Go Padres.